Okay, so who's
Okay.
going first? What we doing?
Sent over a bunch of stuff. There's a couple things. The actual work done, which committed in those files that we went through, and see if you've had a chance to think about the points that we raised, but
I have
also a
I
kind of
have thought
meta.
about them.
That's
And
excellent.
and the most important thing to me, bar nothing, is us
Mm.
working together on a single place. I think
Yes.
we need at least one uh, layer of complexity. I think we need to have pull requests so that we're both not just updating the goal definitions because we think.
Because that's going to go wrong pretty quickly. Yeah.
Um,
Um,
but even that,
uh,
I'm prepared to forego. Like being able to work in the same place on a chunk of information that stays permanent that we use and grow. Like that's the only thing I've seen so far that I'm like those definitions. They might not be exactly the same in a few years' time, but they are definitely going to be there in some form or other,
yes.
right? Nothing else that we've made is going to last that long or has the capacity to last that long. You know, the software is going to get shredded, the AI models, the techniques, the everything is going to get shredded. But those definitions, we've spoken about them in our conversations for years now, 5 years or more for many of
Yep.
them.
Yep.
And now that we've got them in a stable place, I think they're going to stay.
I think you're right. And in terms of practices, this might want to be these one of these rare moments where it's worth actually. What's the old cliche? Sharpening the saw.
I think it's
Because
worth I don't actually care how long it takes, so long as we're committed to just incrementally improving that repository and getting our process down for that. That's worth every
well,
penny, so to speak.
let's do that because yesterday I
Okay,
didn't move to any other platform. I was working only inside a cursor, inside of the
nice,
repo.
nice.
Um,
How'd you find
so
it? How'd you feel?
um, uh, I felt nervous. Things like, oh, I'm just about to, add in a new stuck definition, which extends it.
Yeah, you often feel
And
nervous
it's
about
like,
that. You shouldn't, because first of all, it's easy to get just roll back, roll forwards. There's no problem whatsoever. I don't, in the nicest, politest way, I don't think you know enough about Git to be able to do damage that I
no,
couldn't recover from.
I don't know enough about Git. I don't think I need to know much about Git,
Git
but I
sucks,
do
dude. You
know,
don't need to know.
yeah, I do know, I do know that we can roll backwards and forwards and so on.
Yeah, yeah, and
But
so
it's
all and I don't want to freak you out with like process like pull requests and all that.
uh,
I'm just I can work perfectly happy without them. It is a delight to me to wake up in the morning and have a new set of commits that I can think about, understand where you're coming from, learn something about our system, think about what features it has to do, and think about the process of how we're going to merge and keep these definitions going forward. Like I love that. That's gold.
yeah, that's cool. And the other thing I was thinking about is uh, the uh, the assessment, the summary of the kind of day's thread. Now, I moved from one thread to another, not for any particular reason. Uh, I think I was worried about the context window getting a bit too large. But summarizing those threads this morning when I woke up, I could read what I did yesterday and went, "Oh yeah, that's what I did." Oh,
Right.
cool.
I think that's
Um,
essential. That's essential for the CRM operations because anyone doing serious business in this stuff, it's costly to have an unfinished thread.
yes.
And we probably need a UI element that lets you mark it as done so that you're it's
Right. That's
implied that
what's
yeah.
yeah. And I know last night when we were talking, you're saying words along the lines of having full threads saved as a file is not necessarily the right thing, which is why when I got off the phone, I was
Well,
thinking, well, can we summarize it?
no, I was thinking more about that actually, and what might be. it it is good and it isn't, just so long as we've got a mechanism to manage it, and storing it storing the threads in a folder where it's like one folder per day or something like that is really not a bad thing.
Yeah,
I really don't think that we're going to use those threads very much, and my caution comes from the fact that once we can write some code for Artifact that can manage those threads better and keep them around, then it's not very hard. But managing the threads in Cursor can start to get a bit clunky because Cursor's not good at saving the threads.
yeah. I was looking for any nice way of doing it, and it's like,
There isn't one. There isn't one, and
uh,
I know I share your feeling that you're like it's wasting possibly vital information. But I think for the sake of speed and brevity, the effort it would take to preserve them at this stage is not worth it. But I think that we should definitely work towards a artifact um, workflow where those threads are always saved.
yeah. And for now, I think it was a very very brief because it's end of day prompt that I put in, which is basically summarize all the key points on all the threads all the way
Yeah.
up.
Oh,
And that
I
kind of
think that's great.
collapsed it, and that
And
was just a single copy and paste
yeah,
or
and like
apply.
once you get an org or a project or a team, like you imagine if back in the Interbit days we had that being done for every person. So what
I
they
know,
had,
and end of day report, and then you could
yeah,
like
roll it up, right,
point an AI at everyone in marketing and saying, "What have you done today?"
right, and everyone can see it too because, and then
Yeah,
the higher up you go, plus you can summarize them over time, like summarize all the work summaries for the last quarter, generate a shareholder report, go.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
And suddenly it's like, okay, that's all
So
super
for
relevant.
now, that's what I think we should do because of Curse's ability to ignore folders. Um, Create folder in the repo, which is just the work reports, but the summarized work reports.
Well,
So the last,
you don't have to ignore it in Cursor. You can just put them in there and then you just don't refer to them unless you want
oh,
to.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Amounts to the same thing. Yeah, yeah,
yeah, I'm cool
exactly.
with that.
Yeah,
And I think that for your own sanity, we need to give you, like, you know, there will be some folders that we agree on, you and I, like gold definitions. But I think you having a folder where you can just poke around at stuff is
yeah.
healthy.
That was the other thing was there's nothing stopping us having uh, the equivalent of dev staging in live gold definitions.
Mm. Mm.
Um,
So I think we might not be able to do that in pull request just yet, but we can definitely have that structure in folders. That's no problem. And then you
mm,
and I can sort of
yeah,
uh, merge them in manually, like sit here, have a session, debate it, and then sort of do the merge using cursor.
right. Exactly. And Cursor can do it as an AI, of course. You can say, right, okay, we've got, say, staging and prod. What are consider both folders.
Yep,
Do a diff on each. List
yep.
the files that are different. It shows what the the changes are, and then we can debate. And then there'll be another. It would be another AI command, wouldn't it? It would be um, show what the decisions were for each, and then it's like apply, 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 apply into fraud. That sort of thing.
Yeah, sort of thing, yeah.
Yeah. Because what I don't
Um,
want to do is piss all over your work, and also what I don't want to do is at the
yeah,
end of the
so that's
day,
fine.
because changing
Just you should just go for it. We'll go,
well, I can
no
go there.
pun
That's
no pun
that's
intended, but go for gold. And then what'll happen is each day I'll come in and I'll like poke back at it and be like, okay, here's some topics for the conversation. Like if you just do whatever you want to do, and then I'll come in and see what you've done and try and figure out a way to reconcile it with what's there already.
yeah, okay. I think I'll probably leave that with me. And
Yeah.
every time anyone says "no pun intended," there, there's a pun coming. Um, so leave it with me. What I'll probably do, because it's just a repo, what I'd like to do is to create a kind of staging area, which is a duplication of gold. Gold doesn't change until we've discussed it. We can do diffs.
Yeah,
I
but
can roll
just
back and that sort of thing. You don't agree?
no, that's fine. Just do whatever you
Yeah.
want, and then
Yeah.
we'll just iterate on the concepts.
Nice.
Because
Okay.
and then we'll just take the time to clean it up periodically and make it. This is our knowledge base, the
Yeah.
reasoning.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the ideas I stuck the scenarios and narratives, which job to do today to get narratives into definitions.
Those are super useful,
But
dude.
yeah. Okay. So what was your thoughts on that? Oh, this is something separate.
Oh,
Oh,
what's
that's
my
your
thoughts
one.
on what?
That's your one. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
What'd you think of that, man? Like,
I read through that and I think that is pretty good. And
like it's got work. It's got like a lot of work. But my point is that there is some very basic assumptions we can make about the performance of different economic systems. Um,
yes, for different economic systems, but the big nut that we have to crack yet is in reconciling different types of contribution.
I don't think that's a problem at all. Actually, funny enough,
I've been okay. You got the answer.
no
So,
problem whatsoever. Well, yeah, I got the problem. I got the answer.
excellent. You've written it down.
No. I went over it with you one time and I didn't get any objections about it. Do you want me to run you through it
Yeah, remind me.
again?
Because at the moment, attribution, you can do basic attribution, like your code is actually used, number of times it's used, number of times it's referred, and so on. But that doesn't capture wider contributions that another attribution model or a more sophisticated attribution model might want to take into account. So we'll get a basic attribution model is, yeah, we could do that now. But getting something that is
It's just this thing. Like we use their dictionary of types. Right, so these are all the dimensions of contribution that we're gonna.
oh yeah, no, I remember this. No,
Yeah,
but
yeah,
that doesn't ask the question of how do you reconcile on. So that's contribution types.
yeah. But the way to reconcile is oh, hang on, buddy. I had it in here somewhere.
Man, if there's one nut to crack that I've been thinking about for fucking years now,
I don't think it's that hard,
reconciliation.
buddy. I don't think it's that hard.
Okay, I would love it if you just like there it is and go. Oh, and go.
Oh yeah, no, hang on. I got it. Just gonna tempest everything that you said.
You're tempest. Looking away. Oh, well, you can't do that.
It's not gonna help, buddy.
Yeah.
Just my
Yeah.
yeah, we just roll on through.
I don't think it's tempest if you're doing it, you know, on purpose.
Well, Chat GPT.
I was dreaming about the Dreamcatcher last night again. It's starting to like
Starting
impose
to
on
creep you
my
out.
subconscious.
Starting to mess with your life.
Yeah.
Welcome to the
I was
fucking
working. I
suffering.
was working while asleep, even though I didn't take any notes and I can't remember anything. I just
Oh,
had,
that's the worst.
you know.
Alrighty, buddy. I think
Yep.
that this thing.
Right. Okay. So,
No, I ain't trying to
oh,
say that.
is this the the eigenvector? Sorry, eigenvector.
Yeah, I'm not
Doc
trying
we
to
had.
say that these formulas are final. I'm just saying that they are close, and that it is an implementation,
Yes.
and that's
And
all that matters.
I agree with you. And I saw so eigenvectors are quite similar to impact crystals. But they do. It's an expression of how an impact crystal may be encoded, but it still requires the weights, and the weights are the tricky bit.
Yeah, no, they're not. They're not the tricky bit because we just get the LLM to pick them, and that's it. It doesn't
Yeah,
have
but
to be right.
well, no, yeah, we can get. I was saying we can get a really wrong
That's
attribution out of
fine.
them
And
now,
then we're
but
off. And then we're off.
it's
And I
yeah.
promise you that the really wrong version will still be nanometers type precision compared to kilometers when it comes to the conventional capitalist model. I promise you that much.
Oh yeah, yeah. Oh,
Yep.
absolutely.
Okay.
Because
So if you can
yeah,
think
yeah,
of the
I agree with
ratio of a
that.
kilometer to a nanometer, then that's like, it doesn't matter that it's can be improved. It's a
Yeah,
starter for 10, and we should just implement it and
yeah.
then fucking see what happens. It's gonna be
Well,
better. It's
I'm
gonna be
quite
better.
I'm quite well versed in eigenvectors. So
This doesn't
um,
quite capture everything I wanted, but the main principle I was trying to describe here is the fact that we create this matrix of relative contributions relative to each other, and then we sort of normalize, like loop it again until all the ratios, all the numbers match. So we just like
or get close enough
close
within
enough that there's some
something.
tolerance that we're like it's
Yeah,
not worth trying to
yeah,
refine it more than this. And then you've got this basically relative contribution matrix, and once you've got that, attribution's trivial.
yeah. The eigenvector idea is a good one. And
Yeah.
previously, I've been talking about n-dimensional space for impact crystals, which involves,
Well,
the n-dimensional space is there.
these are the
Uh,
dimensions. These are the dimensions.
yeah, but these are activities, not value produced. So it's
Yeah, but
the
yeah. So the value of each one is where that matrix comes in.
yeah, exactly. And
But these are the what's the word for it? These are the dimensions of the depth dimension of the vector.
yeah, and it's plausible to have for each of these activities to be able to reconcile them against I don't know, so let's say a 0 to 1 weighting
Yeah,
of value.
normalize them. Yep.
And but normalizing between different ones is
Right.
the tricky
And
bit.
I think what's more, the usage of the daily work reports is one way to sort of, like, if you did all your work inside of Artifact where you made a thread, and then the
Mm-hmm.
daily work report summarized what your threads were all about,
Mm-hmm.
then that's what gets used to calculate some of the effort you put in on these different dimensions.
Oh, that's an interesting idea. So,
But
yeah, okay.
the main point
Uh,
is that there's some kind of a transform to go from the raw work, the effort plus the product of that effort needs to be transformed into something standardish.
yes, and it's that last part. Everything else,
Yeah.
there's multiple ways of doing it,
Yeah. And
like
the
eigenvectors.
standardish thing honestly need not be that complicated. It can be just simply a rubric where the LLM goes through and checks off different rules. Like, these are stupid, nonsensical ones, but like, did
Well,
they turn
but
up on time? Were
my
they
current
available when a phone call rang? Like,
well,
crap
yeah,
like that.
my current thinking is so recording contributions and normalizing contributions of the similar type that that can be done. Um, and but normalizing between different types of contributions, my kind of thinking is along the lines of um, how grumpy people get. What you should have is everyone gets
No, no. Look,
equally grumpy.
I think you're overcooking it. You're
Mm.
overcooking it because it's actually not your business to design the attribution algorithm. It's your business to design the system upon which the attribution algorithm runs, but it is hubris to think that we are capable of making the
No,
attribution algorithm.
I agree, and
Yep.
there's a
And
limited
therefore,
number of attribution. Yeah, sorry.
it follows that the version of attribution that we make should be the absolute bare minimum because we don't want to be in the business of making attribution algorithms. That's not our business.
Uh, that is a fair point.
Okay, and I would want to extend that and say that during the past year, there are times when we have fallen afoul of being trying to come up with AI things because the temptation was there because we needed AI to be better than the tools that were available so that we could get our job done. But we must keep in mind that our job is not to make AI tools, it's not to make prompt techniques or reasoning workbenches or anything like that. Some of those things we need to be at a certain level, but once they get to the usable level, we need to move on. That's not our business. Our business is Stux.
Yeah, no, that's fair enough. That's fair enough. And we went down this rabbit hole because there's I don't know how we got into attribution because we were talking about work records and just storing what
Yeah,
have you done,
yeah,
which
yeah,
is
yeah, yeah. Yeah.
contribution.
Okay, so why don't we back out of that and we'll just do we agree that we're gonna make an attribution algorithm, but it's gonna be just rough as guts.
Oh, we could make
But
we could make it any attribution model we want. You know, for example, on these recordings, how many words came from you, how many words came from me. You know, that would be an
anything at all,
attribution
right?
model.
But any kind of data related thing is gonna be better than what we have right now, which is nothing.
Yeah.
And if we get the stuck loop in place, it will be improved. And there will be people that are far smarter than us and have had more experience thinking about these things than us that can deal with that niche problem.
Yeah,
That's not our problem.
it's a really interesting one
They're all interesting problems, my friend.
though.
But we
And
must stay focused on Aladdin's lamp.
I
We
know
came to raid the lamp, not all the treasure that lay on its way
yeah,
to get there.
yeah. By the way, just for the points of note, I haven't done any work on attribution at all.
I'm not
It's
saying that
just
you
sitting
had.
in the,
I'm
it's sitting
just
in the back of
saying
my head
I know,
constantly. Yeah.
but now is the time for us to ignore our hungers to dive into these wonderful things we see around us now. They are not our business.
That was almost poetic. Time to ignore our hungers.
I can't get it across to you anymore. There's a very narrow thing that we care about.
Okay, well, let's get back to it then.
Okay.
There's a couple of things in my hopper. So we've talked about the refining, or at least recording how you and I work on the same tool.
Yep. Which is great, by the way.
So that's
Welcome. I'm so glad to have you
yeah.
here.
So that's done. The second order thing would for me would be your thoughts on actually what I did yesterday
Yep.
in those files, especially the stuck.md in Stux, because that even to my eye is like wrong, how it's been expressed, but there needs to be a right way of expressing a stuck. And the then the narratives. What do we do with those? I've got a couple of ideas. And the what's the other file I made? The NAB scenarios. That's right. So
All right. So that's is
those
that
are things I'd like to talk about, and then
okay?
whatever you got on
The
your
stuff
side.
I want to talk about is the model context protocol, which fell out of the clear blue sky just at a
Yeah,
time when I was
yeah.
sitting there being like, how should I make the API back to Artifact from this delightful new
That
front end that we have?
is interesting enough. About when was it? Yesterday morning, my time, so about 36 hours ago ish. It fell out in the blue sky, and I looked at it. Um, and it's looking at. I went through the README and so on, saying that looks really quite close. Um, and I went through some steps to play around with it, but that wasn't my key aim for that day, so I abandoned it after an hour. So your thoughts on that one? Actually, let's start with that one because I think that's got legs.
Okay. So that landed like a day or two ago.
Yeah. I was looking at the repo. That's what I stumbled on, not the explainer. So I've not read the explainer.
Let me pull up the piece that I wanted to talk to you about. Here we go. Okay.
All right. What's this then?
So, the architecture of the model context protocol. It seems that the only thing that they're missing is NAPS as a framework. But what they're talking about is how would user applications, aka host processes, communicate with various different NAP running environments. They didn't,
Which is
right?
yeah.
They didn't call them NAPs, but I'm like, the protocol that they've described is sufficient to back with NAPs. So we could make a NAP running environment or the standard environment that was compatible with the model context protocol, which would mean that every other client and host that was compatible with the model context protocol could now call our standard environment instance.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I agree. I mean, it's correct me if I'm wrong, but my reading on this is that this is they are offering a protocol for various AI clients or anything you want to call external services in a similar way that we were talking about NAPs being used to call API calls or artifact calls or have those calls available. So you're right,
Yeah.
they haven't gone as far or as deep into the NAP world because the AI can choose the appropriate AI API that is exposed inside of it.
NAPS is an extreme move to make. I think what they're trying to do is they're trying to capture the integration side of the AI boom, and they're saying that look, let's open source this because they want to make it easy for people to switch backends, and they want to make it easy for people to not feel locked in to one vendor or another, with the obvious suggestion being please come and get locked in on Anthropic's
Well,
AIs. But
this is my thought. Because the NAP format. Um, Now, let me talk carefully here. So, NCP protocol can be supported inside of a NAP. That same NAP could support any other protocol that does something similar,
correct.
without changing the NAP format. The NAP format
Yep.
is like the whole debabilizer. It's like these guys have come up with a protocol. This NAP in the JSON says I can talk to NCP.
No, not quite. Not quite. The protocol in the diagram that you made with the layers that showed the standard environment, MCP would be how the front end, however we choose to surface it, be it a web browser, a web page, a desktop app, a mobile app, MCP would be how the front end talks to the standard environment. The protocol on the wire is what that's about.
It doesn't also, and again, I've only skim read this. Doesn't also allow the provides a method of talking to like a SQLite database or any other database.
Yeah, but it
supposes-
purposefully stays agnostic as to what's powering the protocol on the server side. So it's purposefully made to allow you to do anything you want. One thing that I think is extremely interesting and of great relief to us is that to be able to make this protocol, they have made statements about the generality of what all LLMs contain, like
Oh,
prompts,
I didn't
tools.
spot that.
Well, look, prompts is part of the protocol.
I mean, prompts are the obvious one, but what was their
Tools.
Have they discovered anything that we haven't already?
No.
thought
What?
about?
But no. But what they've done is they've reinforced what we're seeing. Like it's uncanny that we
Oh, actually,
right. Like this is almost
Sampling.
naps. This is simply
communication. Yeah. Okay. Oh wow, that's heartening.
So they've chosen that you can the backing server of an MCP compatible server can serve up prompts. It can serve up tools that an LLM can call, and it can serve up various other resources. And so I think it's quite profound that we made such a sort of a statement of a similar type of an industry-wide need and started in earnest refactoring to build it. And then along come X billion dollar these guys, and they're like, this was the piece that I needed. Literally, I have a tab open on my desktop that showed my current best choice for how I was going to do the protocol that connected the browser to Deno deploy or the standard environment. And I was like, not really looking forward to that one, but I'll just go and do this other stuff first. And then along comes this thing, which is the protocol for how to communicate from the browser. Yeah.
The good thing about NAPs, however, is the JSON format around natural language, which now there is one protocol allows us to whoever else advertises that this service that you've got, whatever it is, allows that protocol. But there's going to be other protocols. You know, that's the thing with protocols. You know.
No, man, unlikely, because for there to be a new protocol of this kind, there would need to be a new type of AI. Like in terms of LLMs and the way that, you know, token generating engines, this is all you need. And it's always going to be that way.
Yeah. Well, for now, I don't think we need to worry about that. And we can see if
No,
anyone else comes up with
I
anything else.
just think that we should take heart that we committed so strongly to naps, and then these guys who are not idiots made this thing that
But they're still missing naps, though.
well, no, like not really, because naps is a for a company this big, naps is too much of a change. But the protocol that they're saying highlights that the problem that naps aims to solve is a problem that everyone's aware of, and they've captured a part of it, right? Like the issue with naps at the start is people be like, oh, I don't want to be locked into the naps environment. And I'm like, it's not really meant to be
Yes.
like that, but that's a valid point, right? And so
Yeah.
if we're like, no, we're just, we're MCP compatible, that's what our service is,
Right. Right.
come and play.
Yeah. We've got the same, shape of charger plug.
Yeah, and all that. What this means is that because the standard environment is simply an environment that runs naps, if it is MCP compatible and naps prove to be the value that we think they will be, then MCP and naps go hand in hand, which gives us a huge boost in terms of like popularity, kudos, adoption. We'll get completely ripped off, and that's fine too. But we are on the right track. Like we are looking at, we are seeing what the industry is moving to a little bit before the industry.
Yes.
And you don't have to be years early because then you get called mad.
Yeah.
We're not far enough ahead that we can feel safe. I don't think that ever happens. But if we don't like go like the clappers to own the nap space and make naps, see, naps is supposed to be here.
Yeah. On that point, just as a point I've been using, I heard a quote the other day. I thought that really, really refers to us. Difference between mad and being a genius is an audience.
I would say it's also timing.
Yeah.
Like you need to be just in time to be a genius. If
Yeah.
you're too early, you're mad.
If you turn up right now with a personal flying machine,
Right.
that you
Right.
can flap with your wings. Yeah. But the not to waste too much time on this one.
I don't think
I've
you
read-
could.
I've
This is
skimmed-
such a profound development for us and others. I don't think you could. Please waste away.
Well, in that case, can you take me into what you've learned about what it means? Say, if we've got a database for it to be NCP compliant.
I can do you one better than that. I was expecting this question, and that's what I was browsing for just now. I have for you example MCP servers, file system, Git, GitHub,
SQLite, tier, nice, and that list is only going to get bigger.
Fetch. Right? So this is the kind of thing that they're expecting the MCP server to expose. And we're saying, well, we're doing a file system plus Git plus a computational environment, plus we're also going to pass on to like fetch and all these other things.
And there's a knowledge graph as well there, which is one of my favorites.
Right. So yeah, this thing is the business. We not to point not to give ourselves a medal or anything, but we, without hearing other people bang on about the need for naps, we identified that need ahead of time. These guys have identified a similar need, but they haven't gone all the way to naps. That might say that they're thinking about it and they're not ready to release it. I don't know. But the point is, we are here and we are slightly ahead of the bleeding edge.
Yeah.
And that's a good place and a bad place, because it's like when you're surfing and you're just about to either go over the falls or have the ride of your life.
Yeah.
We're kind of there.
I think it's quite heady, isn't it? I'm pretty sure Anthropic's got more money than us.
Um, right, but what they don't have is us. Mind you, they offered you a job, so this sort of maybe you'll still take that. I don't know, but
No, man.
I guess
It's
sorry
too much fun.
that came out wrong. The point I was trying to make is that it doesn't really matter how much money you have. You can't bend the physics of the AI world.
This is the
the
thing
The
that yes,
minimum requirements are always going to shine through eventually. And here's
absolutely.
one example of them. Naps is another. And what
Absolutely.
we're trying to push is that the Dreamcatcher protocol is a third, which is the automated attribution demand verification,
Which is our previous conversation about what is our gold nugget, which is the stuck loop.
the stuckity
This
stuck
is
loop. Yeah.
this is TCP/IP, and we are offering, I don't know, a router, say.
Well, we're offering something like web,
Yeah.
and we're like, this web is an essential part of whatever you're doing. Everyone's busy sending packets around the place, and we're like, goes a bit deeper.
So, what work's required in order to uh, for us to basically um, jump on the back of NCP, because NCP solves a whole ton of problems with, we got this hopper of people asking. Um, it would be glorious if the answer was, hey, just make whatever service you've got, this old thing in the corner, or your database you're frightened of, or this third party that you depend on, all you need to do is to make it NCP compliant, and then you're into the stuck loop. So what work, what practical stuff needs to be done in order to do that? What does the
Um,
wrapper, what does NCP look like? Because it feels like a layer. So if the bottom
yep.
layer is, say, uh, old Jenny, the database everyone's frightened of, they want to get the information out of it, make it NCP compliant. What does that mean?
I guess that means that you could chat with it, but what you should be doing is running the Dreamcatcher, which is MCP compliant, with the Dreamcatcher connected up to that database, so that it is technically being exposed as MCP, but we're trying to be MCP plus Stux, and um, we're also trying to be inter-server MCP. So,
Yeah.
as an example here, um, we're trying to be not just the method of talking to the client, but using the artifact protocols. We're trying to be servers talking to servers as well.
Yes, but that's the layer that we're working at. I'm thinking more fundamental when I'm talking to some dude who's got a database
Right.
and saying, "Hey, we could plug you into all this loveliness at Dreamcatcher level. What you need to do with that database is, it's like dot dot dot."
Well,
Um,
you could read it
what
in first. First and foremost, you could hook up like a some kind of query tool that would read the DB and generate a bunch of
well, we could do
implied
that. We could do
implied
that anyway.
structure.
Yeah, no, we can do that anyway. No, what I'm saying is, I'll read this in detail because I've only skim read it.
Right.
But in order to make, you've got a SQLite database sitting there, and you want to make it NCP compliant. Presumably, there is some kind of plugin thing that they wire in order for the goodness of NCP to be then exposed, that we can then plug into the Dreamcatcher. So
Oh, I was not thinking about it like that. Because I was not thinking about the Dreamcatcher talking to other MCP capable services, that is a valid use case that you talk about, but I don't see how that I don't think that's on our short list of valuable things, but I could be talked around.
Yeah, there's demand.
Tell me the
Um,
demand. Just
Someone
simply
has
how do I intelligence-size my existing databases?
right. Someone wants to use the Dreamcatcher. They want to have a NAP. That NAP is a very simple one that exposes data on a database that they have been running for the last 10 years.
Yeah, so that'd need some custom work to connect up to that database and then generate the NAP that is required. There may be the possibility for a generic NAP that can go in there and spelunk through the database, maybe, but I don't think it makes much difference to the way
All
that
right.
that system is introduced.
So that sounds pretty much that NCP is not really adding much into that. So
That particular onboarding process, it doesn't. But what it does give us is if this guy's got to answer to a CTO or whatever who's like, what's this
right.
Dreamcatcher about, and how do I know I didn't just make a second silo that my whoever I pass this on to is going to have the same problem 20 years from now? And so the MCP is like saying, well, yeah, but what we do is if we talk to the Dreamcatcher using MCP, which is backed by this archaic database, then any other apps we build on top, so long as they're MCP compatible, we can switch it out for something in the future because that protocol of intelligentized data is the MCP standard.
Right. So to go back, you don't need to, but to conceptually go back to that list of servers that had, MySQLite, they had, scraping tools and that sort of thing. Essentially, there's work to be done, which is presumably coding work, in order to expose an NCP compliant endpoint.
This one.
Yeah.
So there is coding work required to be done to connect up whatever you've got to make it present as MCP. But what I would argue is that you're better off to spend work to make a NAP that can digest your data and then run the Dreamcatcher, because the Dreamcatcher makes NAPs MCP compliant. And so by making it a NAP, you're not making it MCP compliant, but running the Dreamcatcher makes it MCP compliant. And so you could make it MCP compliant directly, or you could make it as a NAP, which can then be run on standard software.
So take the archaic database and go from the Dreamcatcher side. So NAP wants to access and make queries to MySQL database.
Yeah.
Sitting in someone's office.
Yeah.
So what's the work? What's the implications of NCP in the work required for that to actually happen? We want the NAP to be able to get access.
The NAP is the coding work that is required to access that database. And when you run the Dreamcatcher standard environment to run that NAP on your local office premises, then it can be accessed by anything else that can talk MCP. But the work required to online that SQL server is roughly the same for that one instance, whether you did it with a NAP or not. The difference is that if you use a NAP, it has more chance of being reused somewhere else, and you have more chance of finding other people with a similar coding problem to you who can share your problem. Otherwise, you're going to be building a bespoke piece of software that's going to run on a service on some archaic Windows server, and it's going to be expensive and costly to maintain. But if you made it a
Yeah,
NAP,
okay,
it's portable,
okay, yeah. That
right?
argument stands.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good
And then
argument.
additionally, let's assume that that's not your only thing that you want to AIify or whatever the hell the word's going to be for that.
Hmm.
And so your next one, if you had have done the work to MCP it just for that database, then the next database is going to need some novel work done as well. And then how you're going to get the two of them to talk, how you're going to take, rollbacks and other things like that. And that's the point of Naps and the Dreamcatcher, is that if it's 1-for-1 in a straight line race between custom bespoke software and a custom Nap plus the Dreamcatcher, it's not that clear who the winner would be. But as soon as you've got two, it becomes right 2 or more, 3, and it's not even a contest. But
that's convincing. So the old MySQL server is still going to need some code in order to expose it.
Yeah.
All we're saying is that work to expose it, use the NCP and use that NAP as an endpoint for your database, and then you get all the goodness of the fact that you might have you might do a company merger, for example, and have a whole bunch of other machines, but it's the same. It's a fixed amount of work per, bespoke end source. However, because we're using the this protocol, there's a very good chance, and it's open source, that someone's going to have actually done most of that work for you. So you just need to wire it as opposed to design it.
Plus, you can resell it. Plus, you can gain access to resources who are familiar with how to do it.
And importantly, if for whatever reason you've used Dreamcatcher Naps and they're not to your taste, that work isn't lost.
Yeah. So this is, the enterprise service bus kind of looks like a fabric, and MCP, like what we're trying to make the Dreamcatcher be, is like an MCP fabric, so that it can present as MCP to all these different entities who want to consume it, but they only have to talk to the bus. They don't have to talk to each individual thing that's backing it behind. Like it really,
which is the point of a bus.
Yeah. And the MCP win for us is that it allows us to defensively say that we're not trying to lock you in to a protocol. We never were, but because we were the only ones with our protocol, we are locking you in whether we like it or not. But now that there's this industry standard thing,
that's more important than it may seem at first blush, because when you're trying to convince a company, an SME,
they need freedom. Everyone's always trying to lock them in.
It's there's those two things I keep on going on about: fear of missing out and fear of fucking up. And the fear of
getting stuck.
Yeah, it's like, here are these dudes with this Dreamcatcher thing.
Yeah,
I'm gonna go through with a fine-tooth comb because I don't. But if what we're saying is it's a bit like a USB-C port,
that's right.
Plug it in, and boom. And if you don't like what you're plugging into, plug it into something else. Much easier decision to make.
Yeah.
So I'm all for this. All for this. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's,
it's nice that someone did it for us as well.
It is nice because
Anthropic as well. It's got good name. It's got brand
they're
identity.
the second mouse.
Yeah.
They're the second mouse.
Need to explain too hard.
Yeah, and so really, the standard environment just becomes a way to run Naps in an MCP compliant way. It's a way to run them at all, but now we're saying that you just tack MCP on the front of it, and people can start consuming it in whatever else they want to do. Ideally, they'd switch over to be native on the Dreamcatcher, but in the meantime, we don't
Well,
need to force
no, I
anything.
disagree. Because I'd say at the sales level, having anything native is sticky. It's great for the person, it's great for the Dreamcatcher in this instance, or
Yeah,
great for
yeah.
IBM to be sticky. It's shit for the person making the decision.
Yeah,
They don't
but
want to
if
be
if
sticky.
Sticky is open and Sticky has multiple vendors who can support it, it becomes sticky like TCP/IP is sticky. Like
Mm.
TCP/IP might be the stickiest protocol, particularly IPv4, maybe just the stickiest protocol ever
Yeah,
invented, right?
yeah. How many
But
years have we trying to move to IPv6?
since forever,
It's like,
right? And like some people have been alive for less time, so they can write programs and use IPv4, and they've been alive for less times than IPv6 has tried to replace it. So
yeah, yeah,
the point is that like we want to be that open because we don't have any business interest in being sticky. We want to
yes.
be as open as we can. MCP gives us
Well, exactly. Large, very, very large companies want to be sticky. For example, Apple famously tries to make sticky by having ports that only Apple cables can go into,
that's right, that's right,
and
and
they
screw
actually
those
took the
guys.
European court to say no, you can't do that.
Right, that's embarrassing, right? Like when Daddy told you off and was like, "You need to play with the other kids," like
Yeah,
that's embarrassing.
exactly.
So
Smaller you get, the less sticky you want to be.
yeah,
Um,
so I don't know how that really helps us. I guess it's just that like we can ride the wave of MCP compatible. Just like when Git first came out, and you can still see within the Git code base, you can see that it is still compatible with SVN and CVS, which sounds funny. I don't know if you remember those source control systems because they'll bring back
oh God, yeah,
shutters.
yeah, yeah. When you had to check out and check in and all that kind of.
Yeah,
Yeah, I remember them vividly.
vividly, right?
Actually, they're pretty good though. I mean,
Oh, please don't.
they're pretty good
Let's.
for the time.
I
It's a lot better
well,
than honestly. I must be going back to like
these are just
1995.
bad things. I would rather just not even.
In 1995, they were cool.
So were you though. sorry, sorry. I'm sorry. I just couldn't resist. Right here we go. Look at this one. This is the Git source code. Git CVS export. Git CVS import. This was modified last year. Like this is
Uh-huh.
they still have
It's
these
still
features
around.
in here. Yeah. Git subversion Perl. Right? Like yeah, it's
Who's
still
still
in there.
using that though?
Well, because it's sort of,
Oh, it's
some people are still
legacy.
running Subversion.
It's legacy. It's because it's
But
like
when they first came on the scene, that was crucial
yeah, but
because who were they?
I've seen this time and time again at the data center level where the CTO thinks it's more than his job's worth to actually make any change whatsoever.
Yeah, that's tragic. Like you should shoot yourself now, but that's um that's true. And so MCP gives us a way to align ourselves with industry standard, if nothing else. I don't really know how valuable MCP is going to be for people to plug into this and plug into that. Why I think Anthropic made it is for a way to get access to more contextual data in a way that their models can process. And they were like, we need to do this so that we can access it more. They don't really care about fighting over how it happens or who's doing it or anything like that. They just want it to happen, and that's why they made it.
Well, they're the first that we've seen, and the point I was making earlier on about why the JSON is important in this one is a bit like say if Dreamcatcher was a laptop. Um, it's like what ports are you going to put in? And it's like we've got a standard port.
Yeah.
USB, boom. It's like, oh, we've now got USB-C. We can handle that. You know.
Yeah. And so, like, a lot of people, for example, would never use the Thunderbolt port on
Right.
their laptop, right? But the
Yeah.
port needs to be there so that people feel like they could if they wanted to. I personally think that running your app, whatever it is, Dreamcatcher native, will give you better performance than trying to plug in through some protocol. But if that's what you need to do to feel safe with our system, and honestly, I need to connect the browser up somehow anyway,
Yeah. No, and they're
right?
first over the wall.
It makes
Yeah.
no difference, right? And obviously they're not going to put our name up in this list, but we want to be in the noise about this so that as people are getting used to it and being like, oh, MCP, right? It'll take a few months, but if we're sitting there with like, we are Dreamcatcher and we are MCP compatible, like we can
Yeah.
be involved in the ecosystem.
Yeah. Exactly. And we're not NCP reliant.
No, that's
Um,
right. That's right. And we might even be able to be an offering so that if people want to get their job done using naps,
mhm.
then they're like, it's beneficial for them for whatever reason to be able to plug MCP into whatever they're doing and then use naps to do the rest of the stuff. Like they might find that a good solution.
Yeah. And
Um,
also, I can already see in the sales cycle. Um, I've been talking about, bring out your dead, bring out your old servers, all your data
yeah,
stuck around. And all we're saying is make them NCP compliant, and you've got all the goodness of Dreamcatcher, but also being NCP compliant, so you're not stuck with us. So you could go to anyone else, and oh, by the way, it's by Anthropic. Everyone knows the name Anthropic, or every CTO should.
give me your tired, your poor,
Your
your
hooded
huddled
masses.
servers
Your
yearning
hooded
to be
servers.
free. The wretched
Honestly, there's
refuse of your
I
teeming.
know
Yeah.
a guy who is making extraordinary coin right now on a very niche server that IBM produced back in the 70s that seems to be running most oil rigs in the North Sea. And there's like two of them left. There used to be like half a dozen, but the other ones have died.
Right.
Um, so the in the sales cycle, uh,
Yeah, like we
the
wanna
idea
yeah. We wanna
you
be able to
don't want
connect up
to,
to the old stuff.
yeah, you don't want to, swap out old Betsy who's done a perfect job
No,
for
no,
30
and we
years.
want to come in gracefully as well. Like we want to play nice with everything else that's there, but ultimately, we want to be the bus, and we want to be the bus for data transmission as well as computation, and we want to surround every other service and then eclipse it. Because if we control all the I/O, we effectively control the service, and we can swap it out with something else.
Yeah, yeah, but remember, the real thing is we've got this nugget called the stuck loop.
Yeah.
Um,
So okay. So how do we get? So this is all fun, like MCP, and
so I think we're
that's
in
all
roaring
good.
agreement. So I don't know what work your side is required to have these, uh, not on the client side, but on our side to receive SB compliant protocol into an app. That's down to you. I don't know.
I guess. Well, I guess our first example is the trucking guys because I have to connect up with their existing accounting system, and so I don't know if it makes sense just yet, but it might be easier to just turn that system into an MCP compliant thing, and
But
then
then we need to be compliant on our side.
we need to call into it. Yeah, so I'll think about it a bit there. It'd be definitely cool to make the CRM and then show hooking up Claude to it using Anthropic's front end and be like, here
Mm.
is Claude connecting to the CRM running on the Dreamcatcher because it was MCP compliant. That's why it worked.
Yeah. So that chain would be the 3-box thing that is already in hand. Then behind the scenes, we've got NAPs that reach out to different AI models.
Yeah, but
Reaching out
they
to
just
the
look like
CRM.
function. They just look like tool calls
Right.
because they're running as
That
drones.
that seems like a really parsimonious and least resistance route to
Yeah,
actually
and then it means that
improving it.
people can bring their own front end. Like if they're already, you know, we're making it so that we don't require people to fully embrace us. They can have already embraced someone else like Claude, and then they just connect this thing up and they start to use the Dreamcatcher. We don't need to own it all at the start, but we do need to get our foot in the door, and that's one way to do it.
Yeah, but I would argue we shouldn't want to own it all ever.
We're gonna.
We, it'd be nice, but even as a matter of philosophy, offering the Dreamcatcher as the nap discovery and the stuck loop and all that good stuff gives real value beyond someone just using NCP by themselves to link up their own thing into one
Yeah.
model.
Yeah, it connects them, introduces them to the drug of a social innovation network using the needle and spoon that they're most familiar with.
Social innovation network. That I like that phrase.
Okay, cool.
That's good.
But
That's good.
either way.
Sorry. Just yeah.
Yeah, either way. We're in agreement.
Okay.
We need the protocol anyway because we've got to connect the browser and our apps up to it. We do need to be at least playing nicely with the other people in the sandpit, but I think that there is only room for one blockchain on the planet, and if it isn't us, it'll look like us, and we'll either merge with them or they'll merge with us or whatever. But MCP is only needed while there's okay. Well, I guess you always need the browser bit, but it's kind of like compatibility with other AI systems is only required while the fight is going on. When there was the fight over SQL, before Oracle put out SQL, there was a bajillion different ways to do data querying, right?
Mm-hmm.
And some of them had some compatibilities with others and others didn't, and some were trying to play nice and others weren't. And then one language came out or one paradigm came out and eclipsed everyone, and the world has never gotten off of it. And the guy that came up with it is the second richest man on the planet. So, like you can it's okay to disagree that we're not going to take over everything. I don't need you to believe in that, but that's what I think of when I see this system, and that's that. I mean, we can. That's it.
I'm thinking more along the lines that sure SQL is a standard, but then someone open sourced MySQL.
Yeah, we want to be the standard. We want to be like TCP. Like the world is being held back by the lack of a general means of collaboration. We're not trying to own it like it's ours. We're trying to produce it so that it gets adopted. In the area that we're pushing on, which is rapid innovation, there only needs to be one highly efficient machine that is provably the most efficient or closest that it's ever going to be. And
yes. However, we're talking at the social innovation network layer,
right,
which networks with network effects tends to end with one dominant player.
Yeah, winner take all game. That's how those go.
But similarly, the kind of TCP/IP or the USB-C layer that's necessary, but Facebook doesn't own any rights to TCP/IP, even though it requires it.
Right.
And so I think this is a great out of the blue sky drop on us, because it means that we don't have to do it.
Yeah, absolutely.
There may be others. I mean, there was, alongside TCP/IP back in the day, there was the
All
Aloha.
kinds.
Remember
All
that
kinds of stuff.
broadcast way?
Ring networks.
Exactly, but that's not our fight.
Not our problem. No.
We just accept that. So we're fighting at the social innovation network layer, and it is beholden us then to be able to be compatible with as many MCPs as come out, and let them fight it out at that level.
We need to be as open as we can to get going, even if our ambition is to displace all. But
well, I don't know why I mean.
No, not even that. It's like we just need to all stop wasting time doing things that we can. Like, these formulas are not nearly complete, but somewhere in there is a formula that says that the absolute maximum economic efficiency you can possibly get has some kind of formula, and the Dreamcatcher as we have it now is not 100% there, but it's closer than whatever else we can find.
It's it's sort of, given what we've been talking about, it's sort of like a protocol for innovation.
It's an innovation protocol. That's exactly what it is.
Yeah. And so someone else could come up with a different attribution algorithm, and perhaps that's better lines incentives, and they get faster and so on. But the network effect at the Dreamcatcher level network effect is king always.
Yeah, it's king. And so these numbers are obviously skewed, right? But filling in some of these formulas for capitalism, socialism, and the Dreamcatcher, these are example formulas and example numbers concocted and skewed to show a point. But there is some formulation that you can make that shows the relative efficiency of these different methods of coordinating economic activity. Ours, there should be a very good reason why we are 15% less than optimum. Obviously, socialism is missing 90-something%. That's what I mean when I say we want to take it all over. We need a system in the world that is as close to pure theoretical maximum efficiency as possible. I don't think we're ever going to get there 100%, but we can damn well do better than what we got now.
Well, I think measuring it is the thing, isn't it?
It's a start, right?
Yeah. Because otherwise, it's just a bunch of people asserting stuff.
Yeah. So anyway, I feel like I'm gonna just end up going around in circles talking about that.
Well, I think again we're in roaring agreement on that one. I'll leave it to you about what we need to
implementation. So implementation is I will implement that in the coming probably maybe a week or two. It's actually, they have incredibly helpfully, they have already made much of what I need. I'm like, thanks guys.
And open sourced it.
Yeah, good on them, right? Dudes.
And it would be safe for me to start proselytizing about the value of NCP compatible.
I think yes, but I think what I would suggest to you is to have a go with Claude and use it first, just to see how.
Already have, yeah. I've installed it. You've got the SQLite example thing.
Oh, you've already installed it and run it.
Yeah.
Can you show it to me?
No, I can't.
Okay.
Because
that's fine.
I've got my
cool.
app, my MacBook is on its period. Um,
That's okay. Probably not what the live stream needed to hear, but um,
it's terrible. Actually, I shouldn't have said that.
yeah, too late now.
Sorry,
Um,
Argun. I apologize.
well, what now?
Okay, so well, that's quite a biggie. The next thing was your thoughts about what sent over last night. In terms specifically of the stuck hash hyphen stuck.md in stucks, in that the narrative generated a whole bunch of naps that don't exist. So that is, by our own definition, a stuck. We would like possibly, naps that
All
do
right.
that.
So what's the sorry?
Um,
What's the
so
question here?
where and how do I? Oh, and you were going to do some minor edits. Did you do those minor edits on this?
I did. I did. Yeah.
Okay, good. So, why is actor stuck still in there then?
Oh, I didn't mean I was gonna change that. I just meant that I was gonna because it had you'd copied and pasted directly in
That's right.
from the output,
Yeah,
and I
yeah.
just cleaned that up. That's all.
Oh, all right. Okay. So what we're saying last night was actor stuck is a second order stuck, um, and could easily be directed down to, say, a tour nap.
Are
If you're trying to
you
do something wrong.
are you trying to make a definition here that replaces the definition of stucks in gold?
No, I'm trying to give an instance of it that makes sense, given that really quite quickly generated a whole bunch of naps that may or may not be of use. However, given the narratives require them. It's like, where do we stick them? And a quick review of the format of a stuck, because the stuck is
Oh,
dependent on its
you're saying that
context.
you want to make a stuck?
Yeah, because I've got a stuck. The first stuck is the stuck hyphen stuck. Um, uh, there are many others. If you look at the narrative, or in the list of naps that were generated yesterday, it's like, where do I put these?
I'm sort of with you, but I'm still a bit confused. What is the purpose of the document reasoning stuck?
Right. That was reason of that was I dumped that in there, and you see, if you go down, this is probably not the best one to look at actually. If you look at the if you go up one,
Can you tell me what I'm trying to do? I'm still not clear on what I'm trying
yes,
to do.
right. I've identified in my head a whole bunch of stucks. I want to put those stucks somewhere
Right.
in a format that is actually a stuck. So we've been talking about stucks. We're talking about stuck loop and so
And you're
on.
saying that you don't know what the format of a stuck is.
I don't know where to put them, and
Okay, well, in the
I'll
stucks
do
folder is a
readings.
great place. And
Yep,
since you're the first one, you might as well call it gold stucks.
yep,
Um,
okay,
and
yep,
then, so how I would go about that is that I would write the stucks in any format that just came to mind. Probably I'd write them in no format. Like I'd just turn on the voice recognition system, and
and just describe what.
I'd just say it. I'd just blurt it. I'd blurt it out in each one. I'd be like, this is a stuck about this thing, and I really wanted this, and it didn't do that, and I was sort of annoyed, and I'm not sure, blah blah.
Okay,
And
all
then
right, yeah,
once I had like all of them, like let's say you've got 6 in your head. I don't know what goes on inside your head, but 6
it's
and
about a dozen. It's about a dozen at the
a
moment.
dozen.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah,
that's a lot. And then I would then use the long context chat to say, read in these definitions. I want you to look at these stucks and turn them into some kind of a format, given that the stucks are used as described in these
Oh, that's a good
definitions.
idea. Ah, right.
and then
Okay.
you
So,
allow it to come up with it. Because what will
oh
happen, I
yeah, that's
guarantee
brilliant.
you,
Oh, why didn't I
is
think of that? That's a brilliant idea.
if you do it, it's gonna come out nested like more levels deep than Dante's Inferno,
Yeah, no,
and
I do not like nesting. Yeah,
you do love a good nest, don't you? But
yeah.
that's fine. I love a good flat, so somewhere in the middle, um, somewhere in the middle, Claude can sort it out for us, right? And
Hmm.
that was kind of how I arrived on the format of definitions. It's what the model wanted to do, and it's an important nuance in the art of LLM interactions. Is that if you can allow the model to do what it wants more, it will
Yeah,
perform better for you by a
well,
long way.
exactly. Exactly. I'm feeling rather silly now, even having raised this because it's so obvious. We've got the definitions of what the Go definitions can do. It
Right?
knows about stuck.
Yeah.
All I need to do is now we've got some instances, um, and that will be enough for it to propose a V01
Yeah,
format,
totally, man.
and
Totally.
then actually generate those format for each one, and then apply, and then we're off to running with. Uh, I'm feeling slightly stupid. Um,
Man, I feel stupid
that
every
you have
day.
to,
Don't you worry
yeah.
about it. It's much.
That's
It's just
such the obvious way of doing it. Okay, right. Well, I
cool.
can do
Oh well,
that.
that's that's that
I
done.
kind of
What's
wiped through.
what's
I
next?
wiped through all this conversation.
Yeah.
Now I guess we've already talked about our workflow, which um, I'll propose a thing to do. I quite like the staging area, so uh, we'll see how it works. And if you
Just
don't like it,
go for gold. What I
yeah,
like the most is that you and I are working in the same space, and I'm willing to sort of tolerate pretty much anything, so long as we're working in the same place, building up on the same set of definitions, and not like dumping them out the fucking car every
yeah.
so often, right?
I was also going to tidy up a bit. You've dumped down, see, there's transcripts and so on. That doesn't seem like a top level thing, but that's just my kind of, you know,
Oh yeah,
slightly OCD thing.
yeah. Like you can change that
Um,
as all I was trying to get at is that there's
yeah,
probably
really.
a working folder for every induction of stuff,
Yeah,
and that
yeah,
all those folders should be hidden in or tucked into some higher level folder again.
yeah. And I swear the reason that this is very sticky, cursor, is just that at, here's what I'm talking about, is really good. It's really good. Um, you have a slightly different layout than I have.
What do
So,
you mean?
do you? Wait a second. No, actually, no, you don't. No,
What
it's
are you
just
doing?
you just made some tab decisions and some
Some decisions.
decisions. It looked weird, and also it's white because you know you're a nice guy,
Dude,
and I'm black because you know the darkness of my soul. Um, but this
I think
part,
it's because you're
this
making
part
up
is
for how
awesome.
white you actually are. Um,
Yeah, no, I'm not white. I'm pink. I'm Scotsman. Well, I'm blue actually.
translucent,
I'm
translucent.
blue
I would
most of the.
say. You know,
I'm
like
blue until the 1 month of summer, and then I'm pink, and then I turn back blue.
come on, mate. It's not a month, is it? It's like 2 weeks. Okay, well, here's a brief sort of a format that it's come up with no actual. What's the word for it?
Oh, it's
No.
come up with impact dimensions. That's interesting.
It is interesting.
Why
It
did it
does
come up with that?
interesting things, eh? Like it says things that you're like, oh yeah, that's right.
That's what they're optional. Oh, that's pretty interesting. Okay, all right. So, well, that kind of bombshell of me being a complete idiot. It's kind of wiped out the rest of the things I was going to talk about because it's so
Great.
obvious what I need to do. So I don't have anything else.
Perfect.
Um, uh, I'll propose, unless that you've got anything else, get at it. At the end of the day, I'll do that summary of the thread thing. I'll text you over where I've stuck it, and that will give you a view of what we done, and
Okay.
then what that will allow you, if you when you get up in your morning, you can read through that, and if anything looks weird,
Hey, read this.
cross-platform credential sharing. Where did that come from?
This was an example that I asked it to make. I was like, come up with a base format and then give me a few examples of that format being in use.
That is
Cross-platform credential sharing. Need for
quite
secure
big.
credential sharing between homebrew platforms, which were in the definitions, to reduce redundant API authentications.
Yeah.
That's pretty good. Like, that's actually a problem.
Man, gold definitions is definitely the way
It's
to go,
definitely
isn't
the
it?
way, right?
It's
And then it made up some stuff, which it's good at because it likes to hallucinate. 12 homebrew
yeah.
platform operators explicitly requested this. Multiple instances of duplicate API usage detected. Oh, what's the
Yeah.
solutions here? Implement an encrypted credential vault. Develop blah 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 blah. Okay, value estimation. Oh, that's bold. 40%. This thing should go into selling investments. It's like,
40% reduction in API authentication costs. How does it come up with that?
psh.
Ask it. Ask it. Say you state 40% reduction in API authentication costs. Step by step, take me through your thinking.
That's a rude question to ask it because I asked it to make it up. But
Yeah. No. It can reason about its reasoning. Here we go. You're right to question specific number. Let me break that down first. Identify current call. Analyze share. Consider any costs. Consider new overheads. Okay, I apologize. Stating 40% reduction was premature. There you go. But yeah, it can reason about its own reasoning. What model are you on? You're on Claude.
yeah,
Interesting.
well, you can't do long context in O1, but we'll be
Yeah.
able to once I've hooked up that front end.
Yeah.
But yeah,
But that loop of challenging it is at that kind of flame edge between backward-looking derivative AI and forward-looking, whatever you want to call it, with the human brain. And I do think that is actually the core to this entire fucking nugget.
there's a couple of other things. Oh yeah, this I think is an important thing to recognize. Like, if
Oh, yeah, I don't know where to stick that.
I think it's what we're doing, and I think we should spend more time on it. Like, instead of trying to get our platform so we can use our platform, it's not actually. I think we fell into the trap there of we liked the thought of our platform because of the AI it housed. Like, if I think about what was useful about our dreamed platform, it would have been like 95% thanks to OpenAI and 5% thanks to us. And so,
Yeah.
because of that, we should be using the AI as much as we can now. And Cursor gives us that access right now. And so long as we don't waste too much time doing copy paste and repetitive stuff, we can use the AI to do reasoning tasks that are beyond us previously, where that reasoning is about business direction and other such complex considerations.
Yes, I agree, and it feels a bit like when you get a new laptop and it's super fast and it's got loads of stuff, and for the first month you're just in this glow of having a new toy.
The
And
honeymoon
then
phase.
yeah, and then you've got to get down and do work. I would highlight one I sent over, which was just a thought at the end of the day about tokens, and I've no idea. It feels like that thought should be not just lost in the ether, but I don't know what to do with it. So
Uh,
if you,
I think that, we are going to parse this WhatsApp thread one day soon. So maybe
yeah,
that's enough.
but the
Um,
well, it's almost like your ideas folder, or maybe create a folder outrageous ideas or not now ideas.
uh,
But it'd be good to stick it inside of Cursor because having it, yeah, sure, we could parse WhatsApp fine, but it's going to be parsing a
I
whole
think
bunch
I
of
think that you should
stuff.
keep a separate repo for that, just like I keep a separate repo for that. For me, because the danger is we got to keep our shared space clean.
Yeah, but it's a bit like I agree. My shared repo is probably the best place, but a place is necessary because I don't know whether there's any value in these two thoughts, but a bit like your inventor's notebooks that you've been keeping for the last 20 years or whatever it is.
Yeah,
It's like, well, it would be good to put it into somewhere
yeah, I
because
know.
then,
Yeah, I guess that's probably the function that I think of most when I think of Artifact is the ability for me to be able to just waffle on about an idea just by speaking and then have
right.
it turn it into something reasonable and reconcile it against definitions and things that have come before and find a good place to put it. So that's
And
definitely a
yeah,
tool that I think of the most. I
yeah.
call that tool Vents Inventor's software. Like that's the Inventor's notebook, basically.
Well,
Um,
I'll create a repo, a separate repo, just inventor's notebook, and
yeah. So my
we'll just dump these
repo,
things in there.
I maintain two such repos. The first one is you can find it here in this is in our company repos under network,
Okay.
and if you look at the inverted capital backup branch,
Hmm.
you can see that this commits every time I make any kind of change. If you wanted to see whatever I was thinking about for the previous whatever, you just go into the diffs and you can see everything that I thought of that was worth writing down.
So what I really want to do is be able to point an AI at that
Yeah.
and say, has Tom ever thought
Oh,
about what a definition
right.
of a token is?
Oh, right.
Uh,
Or what's Tom's opinion of this
yeah,
thing here, right? Yeah. Yeah,
yeah,
that's
yeah.
funny because I was also thinking about once we can connect up emails, I thought it'd be really funny to whilst you're getting an email drafted for you to talk to someone, you could also draft the response that was gonna come back for the current email because you've
Hey,
you know like
well, that'd be brilliant.
you've got all the stuff that they said to you and then you
That would be
can
brilliant.
work
Yeah,
out and then you
this
twiddle your sending thing to make that change to what you want.
that would be awesome because God, in terms of signal to noise, getting an AI response, it would need a lot of information about both, recipients.
Not that much. It wouldn't need very much information to be much better than you already.
Oh yeah, that's true. That's true.
Not the
But
personal you, but
it would need it
any
would need
given person.
it would need some information, but
Yeah.
the prompt would be something like, "I'm writing this email. What's the likely response?" And then you've got a virtuous cycle there where it's like that response is like, I've already told you about that last month." Oh,
Yeah, well,
so
you just
there
go
we go.
through and you're basically saying, I don't want him to say that. I don't want him to say that. I sort of want him to say this. And then the bot's able to grind through like however many
Uh,
loops it takes to make that
that's really
happen.
nice. That's really nice. That's something similar to what we're talking about here.
Yeah. So I can see how. So basically, this is going to sound super fucking petty almost. But one of the entire points of why I have been working so hard to make Artifact, and it's not to discount the work that you've done or anyone else has done, but where I personally get my like the thing that I'm heading towards is to be
Yeah.
able to have the inventor's notebook nap so that it does all that kind of stuff so that I don't have to
Man,
think
man,
about it anymore.
years ago in you know where I'm talking about in Minx, in the bar in Minx, where we were the only sober people in the room.
And the only
When
non-prostitutes in the
you
room as
first
well, I might say.
you first took me through your inventor's notebook. Um, that has been this thing I've been assuming that you've been after all this
Right,
time.
that is the thing I've been after this whole
Yeah,
time. Yeah, that's
yeah,
what I'm
yeah. So
chasing.
it's not a secret. Well,
Right.
it's not widely known. Now it's on recording,
It's not a
so people will deal
secret.
with that.
It's just that's what I want. Now, there's a lot of side effects. Like, if you can achieve that, there's a whole range of other useful things you can do. But my personal delight will be that system because it would just relieve me of so much toil.
Yeah, but oh yeah, no, but and what would be great is now we got cursor. Maybe I'd is this open, this repo?
Yeah, this repo's open. I run 2 Inventor's Notebook. The other one is dark. You
Okay.
can see it if you. I'll share it with you if you want, but it's not for public
Well,
consumption. The
maybe
other one.
off recording, but somewhere what I'd like to do is I'm constantly thinking about these sort of things, and to be able to just uh, record and transcribe and put in an idea without
Yep.
expecting a response.
Right.
But then eventually, when the context window gets enough, we can see where our thinking is pointing at.
I don't think we
the
need
part.
massive context windows to do that. I think that we need just some sort of entry level looping algorithms that go through and just sort of tear apart all our everything into nice tidy ideas or atoms, and then just like, I would love to be able to have you come in and be like, show me Tom's work report, and then it went through all the commits to the Inventor's Notebook for today, and it was like, these were the new things that he thought, these are the problems that he found, this is the work that he did, like, and you could
Well,
go
it'd
through.
be. I'm thinking about a different use case. I'd like to. Well, for example, I sent that WhatsApp over saying, what the fuck's a token? Because the idea came when you sent over.
What's the different use case? Say the different use case.
So the different use case is an idea just before I was going to bed last night. I was looking at the tokens on Claude, tokens on O1. I was thinking, well, tokens sounds like a unit, but what the fuck is it? And is there an arbitrage where you could get a smarter?
No, this sounds like you're talking about the, like, what is the use case? That's the idea.
This is an example. So
I don't want an example. I want the use case. Can you take
right? Okay,
some time and tell me that?
Yes. Okay. We'll go up one. An idea that occurs to me. What I'd like to be able to do is put that somewhere, point an AI at it through cursor, and say, has this sort of idea been raised in Tom's Inventor's notebook?
Right, but taking that to its natural conclusion, what you really mean is anyone in my social innovation network.
Yes.
How novel is this? Who else is on it? That's what you want, right?
Yeah.
And then ideally, to simplify it again, you want to say, when you wake up in the morning, what has the social innovation network come up with that I might be interested in while I was asleep?
Yeah.
Right?
Is there anything?
And so your news
really
feed is actually all these novel bits of information that the AI has ground through and been like, novel. You'd like that, blah, blah, blah. And so you're actually scrolling through a social news feed of these cool ideas.
Right. And then that would probably, spark another idea. But the ideas are need to be messy. So it's like, take a transcript of, talking.
Well, you just blurt it out. You just waffle on. You could be as
Stick it in
indirect.
there.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then it's available for your news feed saying, yeah, Scott was saying this, or
Yeah.
random other guy, depending on
Yeah.
the how big this is.
Yeah.
That would
That's the
be
thing. That's the thing to
really
make.
useful.
That's the thing to make. Because that's
Um,
like, I would find that incredibly useful to see what everyone else was thinking about and to contribute myself. I would find
yeah,
that.
yeah.
I would find that delightful.
You imagine if I don't know, our old friend UC was on this network, and this morning I'm thinking about XXX, and it's like,
There'll be some
uh,
kings amongst those. Like, there'll be
yeah,
some that you're like, this dude is clearly a genius. The amount of
right.
stuff that they come out with, right? But we got to build that system. I don't know why the hell it's not there already. Like, I really don't.
Well, I think we can hack it with Cursor between the two of us and see
Yeah, I think so. Yeah,
and
yeah,
then see. And it's the thing is when I dump stuff in, it's poorly formed and it's not really for discussion, but it's not something that I'd want to.
right.
Oh,
But you
it's
don't want to. You don't want to lose
twenty
it.
percent.
You don't want
Yeah,
to
I
lose
don't
it.
want to
But
lose it, but
if
it's a
you
ten
had
percent
an
idea. Yeah,
yeah, but if you had an AI that had a bunch of definitions, it could probably tart it up to be actually pretty
yeah,
cool,
bit more
or
tight. Yeah,
allow you to see it in a way that you're like, oh, that's good, except. And so you can strawman your way through it by just picking faults in what the AI did,
yeah, yeah.
which is
I
easier.
mean, remember when you were in the Scottish Skunk Works, and we're up in the crypt,
Yeah.
and there's an idea, and you brought your phone, you talk to your phone, and so on.
Yep.
It's like putting that into an area
That's what we
that,
need. That's why
yeah,
I was like, have a look at this friend device, the Omi necklace thing, because you should be able to just walk around all day, and that's all you do.
yeah. Interesting. I got quite a strong social pushback from the family for having that.
Yeah, I know. You
Um,
probably just don't tell
yeah,
them, but or just hang out with people who have agreed that they want to be like the Omi thing should be like the Dreamcatcher, where we could both turn on okay to listen, and then when we come in range, both of our devices turn on, and it's like, well,
right,
it's
right,
we've
and
committed to being okay to be recorded and transcribed, and so now,
exactly. And the thing with the paradigm around cursor about regard this, disregard this, and so on, we allow. Okay, I'm not going to sit down and I have this idea. Well, what's Tom thought about this? Well, Tom was thinking about
okay,
this three
well,
years
look,
ago.
buddy. I mean, this is clearly this is the thing that if I had nothing else out of all of this effort except that one thing that you described there, I
Hmm.
would call that a great deal. A great
Well, that's
deal,
that.
right?
I think we got the tools. I
Yeah.
think
Okay.
we can do
So
it.
what about if you made the narratives necessary to describe that system and the different use cases, starting with the ones you just laid out now, and make us a set of stories that describe that thing in progress and figure out what naps are needed.
Yeah, I could do that. What I prefer to do
Mm.
is to start dumping stuff down into this repo. Can Cursor look at two repos at once, or is it only one repo?
I haven't found a way for it to do that, but it can if you open the parent folder
Uh huh.
and then you end up opening both repos. Like you just open it one folder higher, that's all.
Yeah. Okay. All right. I'll have a look at
So
that.
you can do
So
it that way.
the in order to get to what you just asked for, what I would do is I would start using it, and so in using it, that would spark enough of the narrative of how I want to use it, because this
Yeah.
is a, this is a stuck. This is a
This
direct
is
stuck,
yeah, this is the mother stuck,
and it's
this one.
scrappy as hell.
Yeah.
Kind of know, but not really. So it's the refinement loop, and the refinement loop would be okay. Well, let's get a really shitty version up, which we can do now through Cursor, because it's somewhere to dump it,
Mm.
and then see how it's used, and then those uses are effectively renders, and you go, oh, actually, this would be a good thing to do. And then we can get to the point of getting the use cases and therefore the stocks for the naps that are needed in order to make it actually happen. Yeah,
Sounds good.
sounds messy as hell.
That's how it is. That's what innovation looks like.
Yeah,
But if we can make a machine that takes messy and makes it clean,
yeah. Okay,
then the world
well,
can live within our
let's
dream.
try it. That's I would count that as a side hustle because we're now the priority is on the Dreamcatcher. However, starting using it, or even
Yeah, I don't
at
know
least
about it.
dumping
Like
it.
that's the thing. Like, sure, the Dreamcatcher, but actually, personally, I'm like, I need the Inventor's Notebook. Like, but yeah, like the Dreamcatcher, I think is a level above the Inventor's Notebook. But in my mind, the Dreamcatcher is at least the Inventor's Notebook, and then it's some extra stuff on top.
The inventor's notebook is. How would you describe that? Because yes, it is. The Dreamcatcher is the way to get stuff done
Right,
from scrappy ideas. Where do
right.
those scrappy ideas come from?
Yeah,
They can
right.
be they can be mega scrappy.
Right, and then the key being the social network aspect being two people, scrappy ideas, help them find each other, help them refine,
Yeah,
prepare it to help a third to move it
yeah.
forwards. Like that's the network
And
piece.
then you get close enough to something. Yeah, it's like, oh, that could be a thing. Let's
Yeah.
make a stuck, and then into the Dreamcatcher. And then we've got the virtuous cycle of the Dreamcatcher improving stocks,
Mm.
creating naps, and then it's done.
Mm. So I'll
Hmm.
do is I'll have a think about how I could get a lightweight social network feed going in that chat interface
Mm-hmm.
that I've been prototyping because
Mm-hmm.
that'd be sweet to like it not just be all about chats and you turn up and there's like a social feed and you're scrolling through interesting things that Scott found yesterday,
That'd
interesting
be
things that
that'd be
Ben
nice.
found.
But to be honest, what I'm really interested in is not reading the interesting things as effectively a feed. What I'm interested in is going in AI and seeing something like, uh, what's Tom been up to that is anything to do with things that I've been up to,
Right. Okay.
as opposed to reading through,
Oh, so you
because
want to
it's
have a chat where the chat has knowledge about your friends because
right,
we both agreed to share our data by way
yeah,
of a friendship, a database
e- e-
connection of sorts.
exactly. Because otherwise, I could be reading through stuff that has no relevance or of huge relevance,
Right.
and then you got the filter problem through,
Yeah.
human brain.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, So let's work on this. But for now, if you're okay, what I'll do is I'll just open a folder. I'll call it, you know, Scotch shit or whatever.
Don't swear in
Um,
the repos, please.
okay, don't swear repos. I do swear quite a lot. I'm an ex-sailor though, so
You are an
uh,
ex-sailor,
uh,
and look, I can't.
um,
It's just that the commits are literally forever. Like,
yeah,
you should not be a potty mouth in eternity. You should be
potty
a
mouth.
potty mouth when it's gonna be thrown away, but
Yeah,
Git is sort of forever, and it's just not the best
I
look.
I totally get. I agree, and I will. I just found potty mouth being quite an endearing phrase. It's quite cute. Um,
Well, I I really do hate to be the one to break this to you, but it isn't. It
but
actually
yeah, okay.
isn't.
Yeah, I wouldn't actually call it that. I'd just say Scott's ideas, and then I'll just dump text into that. No need to read them. No need to check them. Um, but then we can point cursor at them at some point and go, "Hey, we've just done this thing
Yep.
with Dreamcatcher. Is there any of these ideas that would be pertinent to the golden definitions?" And it's like,
Right.
well, yeah, there's this small nugget thing here that you said So, Scott said there, Tom said here. You all seem to be thinking along the same way in a really messy way.
Mm.
Maybe you guys should talk about this. That sort of thing would be really useful. But for now, I'll just open a folder if it's okay.
Yeah, man.
That.
Go for your life.
And start dumping stuff into that. Is dumping allowed as a word?
If the kernel dumps its memory, then we can dump our ideas.
Anyway, I don't have anything more for this morning.
Maybe that's actually the joke when they call it a kernel dump. It shed itself, and they're like,
I used to love the Amiga A500 had the Guru Meditation as its kernel dump, as its blue screen. It's like Guru Meditation. I love
dear.
that.
All right, I'll stop the recording here.
Those dudes, yeah, those dudes were good.